Hello and welcome to episode 63 of the Life in General podcast. My name is Nick.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ian.
Yeah, hello, Ian.
How are you today?
Good. Guess what?
What?
It's just us today.
It is just us. Kind of going at old school.
I know. I got used to having Mandy here, but
I know. It's like a limb is missing.
she didn't like our topic today.
Yeah, well, she just felt she didn't have anything to offer.
Is that what it is?
But
Do we?
or maybe that's just her excuse.
Do we ever really have anything to offer?
Absolutely nothing. I don't even know why I'm here.
Well, you're here, Ian, just to bring the notes, right? Because you bring the notes with you, right?
Yes, and I feel miserably every week. Every single time.
Well, I mean, you did just like sit down and start looking over Reddit a couple minutes ago just to
I
brush up on the topic.
No, what I did look at Reddit, but what I did was I sat down with my tablet and started actually looking at the topic at hand.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes, for the first time. And it, as you pointed out earlier, it was a topic I suggested.
Yeah, well, yeah. So. Well, hey, how about before we get into that,
yeah.
If you got any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@lifeandjournalpodcast.com. We're on Twitter at LIGpod. We're on Facebook. You can always check out our website, which is lifeandjournalpodcast.com. And it's got all of our previous episodes on there, I think. I don't know, I've been kind of slacking lately. I at least keep our previous 5 episodes on the main page. I think I've been slacking about putting the other ones on the other pages, but anyway, you can check us out. We're on iTunes, Google Podcast, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeart, all that stuff. So,
yep,
follow us and like the show, and leave reviews and all that nonsense.
Yes. Do all that even if you don't like the show, but you can tell us you don't like it, but just do all that anyway.
Sure.
Yeah. We're not sissies. We don't have a problem being.
Some of us aren't.
Okay. Well, there's 2 of us here, Nick. So either you're implying that one of us is, or
maybe I am.
Well, you would be wrong. At least when it comes to like criticism of any kind, it doesn't bother me any. Mm-hmm. Some criticism, I guess, does, but not most of it. No, I'm
just messing with you.
Especially if it's unjustified.
So, what did we talk about last episode?
The
Oscars.
The relevance of the Oscars and award shows. Yes.
My brain's all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Welcome to my world.
So if anyone hasn't noticed out there, I went back and took all of the episode numbers off the show.
If you notice that, you're doing better than me.
Yeah, because Ian didn't even know. That's how
I listen to the show. I'm
involved Ian is.
I am a regular listener to this show.
Yes.
I think I'm going to start commenting on the episodes myself.
There you go.
But I didn't even notice as a regular listener.
Yeah, so part of it was because iTunes was, I don't know if iTunes is changing something in the way that their system works or whatever, but it's been recommended several times over the last couple of months to go back and take all your episode numbers off. I don't know. I did it. I think it looks better. So I don't know. I don't
go to the podcast list for the.
If we reference an episode number, which we might today, I don't know.
It's in the show notes.
It'll still be in the show notes. So yeah. And if you go on our Facebook page, the episode number is always in the post for that episode.
Yep.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, I think it just looks cleaner, especially on our website. Mm-hmm. The way that the embedded players look on our website, I think it looks better like that.
Okay.
A bunch of jumbled numbers and stuff on there, but that's it.
I was indifferent to it. Like I said, I didn't even notice. So, as a regular listener,
yeah,
I'm just saying there are. I record the damn thing. It's my goddamn voice. No one likes hearing their own voice, and I'm a regular listener.
Really, after 103 episodes of, you're still not used to hearing your own voice?
Oh, I'm used to it. I just doesn't mean I like it.
Oh. It's almost to the point now where, like, in regular life, I hear my radio voice now, or my my real voice, I guess. Because you're used to hearing your head voice, But
well, I'm used to hearing multiples of those, but
wah, wah, wah. Where's my soundboard when I need
it? Right. Yeah, it's just when I listen to it, I just listen to it as though I'm listening to somebody else talking. Because I really don't like the sound of my own voice. I honestly don't know if anyone really does.
I don't have a problem with it.
Well, good for you.
Oh, okay. So
you did. When we first started, you were like, you hated it.
Oh, yeah.
You've just gotten used to it.
Yeah, I've gotten used to it. I'm sure it's what it is. So I think we've kind of talked about this before. I'd have to go back and scroll through our episodes, but I think
on our topic?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked.
I don't know if we've gone into like great length,
Nah,
on it before?
Probably more on this and some other things, but yeah, I mean, it's been brought up multiple times.
And this was one of Ian's ideas for a topic, and we were going to wait and do it in our next week's show, but it kind of seemed a little more topical to me.
Right. And from a different perspective than what I initially thought of when I suggested.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about entitlement. It kind of made me think of with the
college admissions.
Yeah, the college admissions scandal over the past week or so is, how entitled generations have become or seem to be, or the perception that they are.
For me, that seems more like an entitlement of a different kind, though. That's more of I see that more as a financial entitlement, because you're of a certain stature financially or socially. You don't have to you don't have to follow the same rules that other people have to follow. I
mean, I think it's all entitlement.
It is. It's just that's what I'm saying. Because when I suggested this topic, I was kind of looking at it through two avenues, specifically generational entitlement, focusing on the baby boomers specifically, but also
the perception of millennials.
The perception of millennials, and there is entitlements there.
Of course, there is. I think there is.
I see it less in Gen Xers than I do in any other generation.
Okay.
But that was where I was kind of angling it from. However, with this other situation, to me, it reeks of that social.
I think it's more
higher social
elitism
class
than anything.
Yeah, exactly, elitism or like I said, class issues more than anything. And
but
that's always existed. There's nothing new there.
But like overall, do you think there is like an entitlement crisis in America?
Yes, as a whole.
As a whole.
Because when you add in those generational issues and the social class issues, it just, I mean, that's most of the population. You got your rich, you got your baby boomers, you got your millennials. Whatever's come after the millennials, because technically the millennials are starting to have kids now too.
Yeah.
So
well, millennials are like anything from like 83 until early 2000s, right?
I think so. And so I mean, they're definitely having children. There's children are getting older now, and I don't even, like I said, I don't know what that generation's fucking called. The last generation, perhaps. Who knows?
Did you say the last generation? We got from the great generation to the last
generation. Hey, you never know. There has to be a last eventually. I just would hope that it's
further down the line.
Yeah, a couple 100,000 years anyway.
So when I started thinking about entitlement, it made me think of, and part of it, I wonder if it's driven somewhat by the media and the way that things are portrayed. That kind of feeds into the monster. Because and specifically, I remember back, I think it was 2017. It was right around there, but there was a video that went viral of a guy that was being drug off of a United Airlines flight. I don't know if you remember this or not.
Well, it's happened several times, so I'm just not remembering maybe the specific one you're talking about.
Oh well, so there's like a big uproar about the way the guy was treated, and I remember like several months later, I was reading an article about what actually happened. And like the backstory behind it, because all you saw was the video of the guy being yanked off the airplane, and the backstory was that there was so the flight was overbooked, which is obviously an issue.
Right.
So they asked 4 people to take a later flight. 3 of them had no problem, and of course this guy threw a damn fit.
Right.
And his reasoning was that he was a doctor, and he had patients he had to see the next day, which at a certain level, I can somewhat see that argument, but why is he any more important than anyone else on the airplane?
Right.
I mean, so he throws this huge fit. He's like physically removed from the airplane. He fights his way back on the airplane and is removed
even more forcefully
a second time. And of course, the video goes viral, and everyone has this big uproar about it.
Right.
And
was the uproar against him or for him?
For him, the way that he was treated on the United Airlines.
But we didn't hear the backstory.
We didn't hear the backstory on it.
Screaming, do you know? That's the way I hate the. Do you know who I am?
Yeah. And the line of work that we work in, we specifically see that from doctors. Not all the time,
right?
But enough.
I don't see it in person, but on the phone, I've dealt with it specifically.
That's what I mean. It's the hey, I'm a doctor. Yeah. It's like, okay.
This is beneath me.
Yeah.
Put me in touch with somebody who's not beneath me.
Yeah.
Where, I can't do that until you talk to me.
Or you, as the person I'm talking to on the phone, is beneath me.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it all kind of goes back to that entitlement.
Yeah. Well.
Because of who you are.
Is that would be, I think, classified under the class entitlement. Being of a higher caliber of person.
Maybe.
Because of whatever, or because they're rich, or because they're a doctor,
or I'm a doctor and I'm smarter than you. Yeah.
Right. There are things in this world that I think deserve a slight amount of extra respect.
Yeah.
Yes, if you're a doctor, you worked hard to get there. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, not at all.
So how I respond to that is I don't refer. I mean, I don't know how far we can go into talking about our own jobs, but. When I talk to a doctor, I say, yes, doctor, no, doctor. Everyone else calls them by their first name. I don't do that.
Yeah.
Even when they answer the phone, they answer it, this is,
Dr. So-and-so.
No, they just say, this is Joe.
Oh, yeah. I've had those phone calls also.
I still refer to them as doctor because I think that's a title that has been earned.
Okay.
And it comes with it comes a little bit of respect.
Yeah.
Does not come with the ability to talk down to me.
No.
Or ignore me, or to do any of those other things that in normal society are considered rude, just because of your position.
Yeah.
So that's where I draw the line on that. Same with, I guess if I met a politician, even if I didn't like them, I would be respectful.
I think so.
I don't know.
It depends on
honestly,
who they are.
I honestly I can't say that I would anymore, but. Growing up, I would have been
I would be respectful enough. I wouldn't openly spit in your face.
No, no. Well, that goes beyond being. We live in a society where there's rules and when spitting on someone or being blatantly aggressively rude to them, is acceptable.
No.
So, whether I like them or not, they're still going to get as much respect as I would offer to anyone of any kind.
I guess the other thing is have along those same lines is have we gotten too comfortable as a society that we're just not. We're to the point where speaking along the lines of jobs. People talk about millennials thinking everything is owed to them and they don't want to go out and do anything. Along those lines there, have we gotten to the point now where we're just so comfortable that we are no longer willing to do those jobs that a lot of people, quote unquote, feel are below them?
Right. Well, maybe. I don't know if that's necessarily the case because I think.
Oh, I'm not saying it's true, but that's a perception.
Right. Well, for me, I guess it's really hard to say because I can only look at it through the prism of my own experience in my perceived experience of others, looking at my parents and then my grandparents. My grandparents, they grew up at a time where there were no jobs, but by the time they were old enough to get jobs, we were in a war.
Yeah.
So there was jobs, whether it was in war or working here.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they came back, there were plenty of jobs. There was no shortage of jobs. Our parents were kind of the first ones to kind of have to fight a little harder for their jobs, but not really. We have to fight for our jobs in a sense, more so than they did. They had periods of ups and downs in the economy.
Yeah.
Especially, I know your dad worked for the auto industry, so I don't know what that was like for him in the 80s. But my dad worked in the steel industry, and that was lots of ups and a lot more downs, to be honest with you. So
not so much in the automotive industry,
right? But even with the gas crisis and all that.
Well, that was the 70s.
Well, when did your dad? He would have had to start working in there in the 70s, right?
What year was the gas? Wasn't that like
78, 79?
So it was right around that time that you started working there. I don't know. I wasn't alive then, so I really couldn't tell you.
Well, yeah, but anyway, but our generation, when we graduated high school,
way back when,
there were people that I went to school with who, day after graduation, they were family, because they had family in Ford, they were going.
They were legacy employees.
Legacy, yeah. Day after graduation, they're starting their $25 an hour job.
Yeah.
For those of us who didn't have that, it was a lot harder. Yeah. Granted, it was at a time where no one really considered the pitfalls of having, hundreds of $1,000s of college debt either.
Yeah.
And it wasn't,
which is becoming more commonplace.
Which is becoming way more commonplace. But, we were also kind of at that middle point where it was still slightly possible to graduate from high school and get a decent paying job.
Yeah.
So we had some of the benefits that our parents had, because that's what I was going to point out. My dad got into the steel.
We were like the tail end of that.
We were very tail end of it, and for the most part, I think most of us didn't even have those opportunities.
No.
But my dad dropped out of high school and was making the equivalent of more than what I'm making now for 1974.
Yeah.
He was making good money. He was bringing home like $400 or $500 a week, which back then is the equivalent of bringing like $2,000 or $3,000 home a week. So, and that was with no degree. He just dropped out of school to work to get that job, and that's something that can't happen now.
Or it's very unlikely to happen.
Right. And I honestly can't remember where I was going with any of that.
I'll just say real quick that I know after high school, I started out making basically minimum wage and worked my way up over the course of 9 or 10 years to where I'd got.
Right. But that was a lot less than what you're making now.
But then again, then my company I worked for got bought out. I got fired. And had to start all over. But, it's...
And it's not to say that wouldn't have happened, say, in 1972 or 73,
no.
And maybe it was even more common to happen back then, but there was a lot more opportunities to bounce back to. That's where I was going with it, generational and looking at it from that perspective. Now we're in a point where everyone, kind of people expect it. If they go to college, they expect to have a good paying job.
Yeah.
The reality of that is not the case.
No.
But it doesn't. The people who are in those positions aren't adjusting themselves to the situation. That's where I think the entitlement comes in, or the perception of entitlement comes in. They're not adjusting themselves. They're not saying, okay, I went to college. Those opportunities aren't here. Do I go back to school? Do I do something different? Well, they're coming out and saying, where's my fucking job?
Well, part of that, though, I think goes to the entitlement of baby boomers.
Right.
Because
that was kind of what I was pointing out. Whereas our grandparents didn't have it, but our parents did. I guess that's where I was kind of going with it. My dad didn't even graduate high school.
Oh, I know.
And he had a great paying job.
But you look, it was, I kind of place a lot of the blame of the Great Recession on the backs of the baby boomer generation.
Yeah.
It was, they're the ones that voted in the politicians or they were the politicians.
They are the politicians. They were the ones voting for the specific types of politicians.
It killed economic growth. It halted the recession, halted job creation. And it forced older Americans to stay in the workforce longer. So, as a consequence of that, it encouraged younger Americans to continue to stay in college to work for a bigger degree and rack up more financial debt.
Yeah, but that would be our generation that you're talking about, and I don't necessarily see that as it wasn't as big of an issue for us.
What?
Maybe because we didn't perceive the debt as an issue. But,
Well, I'm talking about baby boomers versus millennials, because those millennials that were going through college in 2008.
I see what you're saying. The consequences of the actions of the baby boomers are keeping
millennials
or Gen Xers in the workforce longer too, holding up those jobs that are available for the millennials. Is that what you're kind of implying?
Not necessarily Gen Xers. I think it's people in older generations, specifically baby boomers, that would be reaching that retirement age. And because of the Great Recession, which they were a big part of, it wiped out a lot of their retirement savings.
Yeah.
So they aren't able to retire, so they stay in the job workforce longer.
Right.
See where I'm going?
Yeah.
It's a long connection. But
it is a long connection, and I guess I tend to see the Gen Xers, myself included, as more the victim in between.
By the way, we're not Gen X, but
we technically are 71, 83. I know they put that exennial middle ground in there, but I still don't necessarily qualify for that. I'm like right on the cusp of
Oh, yeah?
Like I think it's 77 or maybe 78, and I'm 78, so I guess I qualify, but it's stupid. I don't even like the idea of naming generations. I'm just doing it for the purpose of
I gotcha.
of this conversation. And I do. Baby boomers are a real thing. I mean, that's because they from that period, say 46 to
the post World War II. era.
46 to what is it, 61,
something like that. 62, 63.
So something like that. There was a huge boom. I mean, it's legitimate to call them that. Gen X. What the fuck does that mean? Millennial. What does that mean? But again, for the purpose of the conversation, I wasn't really truly aware of it until the last few years. But I see these things and I hear these stories and you hear, oh man, this person was doing this and then saying this. I said, how old are they? And they're usually born in that baby boomer time period.
Yeah.
It's like, of course, I mean, we see evidence or the perceived evidence of millennial entitlement all the time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we see it all over and we've been seeing it for ages now. But it really clicked with me on how baby boomers feel super entitled, just in how they behave. And I honestly don't know where that comes from.
I think a lot of it comes from their parents.
But their parents had nothing.
But that's what I'm saying. And it's not so. And I really don't want to get way off on this. But have you ever heard of the Strauss-Howe Generational Theory?
No.
I know we've talked about it before.
Yeah. It doesn't ring a bell.
William Strauss and Neil Howe wrote a book called The Fourth Turning.
Oh, okay. I do remember that.
Because I know we've talked about it. I mean, we might have talked about it off air. And it basically discusses how there's like 4 periods of time that keep recurring over and over throughout U.S. history. Mm-hmm. Each generation gives birth to the next generation.
I think I see where you're going with this. So the baby boomers...
yeah, because I've actually got a list out here. I didn't want to read through it all, but I'll just go through it. So,
I think we did talk about this on air, by the way.
No, did we?
Yeah, I think so.
So there's four periods of time. So there's a high, which occurs after a crisis, when society wants to build and avoid death and destruction of the previous crisis and the generation before them. Mm. It's a time of the institutions are strong, individualism is weak, and society is confident about where it's going, but people outside of the majority feel stifled by the conformity of the majority.
So that would be our grandparents' generation.
Yeah.
And just to have it, pointed
yes.
to.
So that generation gives birth to, and it's not, so they break it down a lot more than this. These 4 classes aren't necessarily a generation. There's actually generational labels inside each one of these classes. That's why it's a really interesting book if you ever want to read it.
Yeah.
But these are specifically periods of time. And then there's dominant and non-dominant generations in each of these classes.
Okay.
So you got the high, then next you have an awakening, which occurs after the high, where institutions are attacked in the name of personal and in the name of personal freedoms, basically.
Okay. Well, that it still follows the first one would apply to our grandparents.
Yeah.
The second one would apply to our parents.
But also the awakening is also where, and tell me if this sounds familiar, where young activists look back at the previous high as an era of cultural and spiritual poverty.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's where the whole hippie movement came from.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then out of that awakening comes an era of unraveling,
which would be our generation. Theoretically,
somewhere in that,
because that does make sense too. I mean, we didn't really know where we were. We didn't know.
It's basically the opposite of the high.
Yeah.
So institutions are weak, and individualism is strong and flourishing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then that generation gives birth to a crisis generation or a crisis era, where after the unraveling, it's basically an era of death and destruction. It's normally either war or revolution.
Which should be your children. And they're growing up to...
Institutional life is destroyed and rebuilt in response to a perceived threat of the nation's survival, is what it says.
So, which, I mean, we haven't seen that come to pass yet.
No.
But that's what your children are going to have to deal with.
But according to their generational theory, each turning, as they call it, takes roughly 20 to 25 years, and the whole cycle is about 80 to 90 years. So it's basically one person's lifespan. So it would make sense where you have a generation like our grandparents' generation that grew up through poverty, didn't have anything, fought through World War II. They came home, they gave birth to children. They wanted their children to have a better life. They gave them everything.
And they turned out to be hippies.
They turned out to hippies and then end up being yuppies and this great entitled generation.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense to me.
Not to get way off in the weeds.
I think it does a little bit, but I think
I wrote notes on all that, but I didn't know if I was going to actually bring up anything.
It's still part of the thing, and I want to say, is it just to kind of pull back to kind of what you were talking about with the college admission thing? Do you think it's all as a direct result of people wanting to be the richer class, to have everything, to have that status, so that they don't have to work as hard to do the things they want to do?
You mean the college admission scandal?
Yeah, because then that all came from money. That all came from.
I think it's more of people looking at it and say, look, I've got money, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Right, but all the lower stuff, is it because people want to have that money and want to do whatever the fuck they want? It's that striving. I couldn't have it, but my kids can have it. Kind of a thing. I
don't think that's where any of it comes from, really. At least from the individuals I've seen named and discussed. I know there's 50 people that are arrested. I don't know.
Aside from headlines, I don't really care. I haven't paid that much attention because really all they're focusing on in the headlines is specifically the celebrities that are involved.
Well, yeah, because that's the... Because
I wouldn't have even known there was 50 people involved.
Yeah, there's 50 people that are arrested.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the interesting thing about all that, though, there was one guy. So you said you don't know anything about it?
No, I mean, above and beyond the headlines, not really, no.
See if I can find the guy's name. He was an Orange County, California college admissions consultant or something like that. His name was Rick Singer.
Okay.
This guy, basically the kingpin of this whole idea.
Which sounds right because his name's Rick Singer. Yeah. Sounds like the name for a douchebag like that.
So this guy made over $25 million
off of these fake or the push through admissions or whatever.
Yeah, and it was really I don't really know how he was caught up in it, but so typically, and that's kind of where I found the whole thing kind of interesting was, so in a normal FBI investigation like this. Normally, what they do is they catch the lower people, and they
work their way up to the higher.
Give them deals and work their way up to the boss. Right.
Well, that's only because it's harder to catch the boss than it is the lower echelons.
But this investigation seems to have worked in complete opposite.
Okay.
So they caught the kingpin, and they gave him a sweet deal to rat out all of his clients.
Okay, and that's who I keep reading about in the fucking headlines. Is his clients. Yeah.
Yes. But it was really interesting how it all went down. There was If memory serves me correct, basically what they were doing was this Rick Singer guy would help them. I don't know if they were doctoring information, showing that their children, and it might not even been these two actresses. It might have been other, because there was a bunch of people involved in this.
Right.
But at some level, what they were doing was they were convincing the ACT people that the students had special needs. So they couldn't take the one-day test that was being administered at their home school. But because of their special needs, they had to go to a different school and take a 2-day ACT test. And this other school is where this Rick Singer guy had paid off the ACT officials
to give them better scores.
Well, what they were either helping them with answers, or if they weren't helping them with answers, what they would do was after the test was taken, they'd go back and change them. They change the answers.
Huh.
All for the mighty dollar.
Yeah, but again, this is not uncommon amongst the wealthy ranks. This has been happening for centuries. Children getting into Harvard just mainly on their name.
Well,
not because they had any extra intelligence, or even that they even scored high enough to justify it. In some cases, maybe, but in most cases, not. It was solely on the name of their name. and the wealth of their family.
Look at the president's son-in-law. Not to bring up politics,
well, I mean, it's going to come up because if you're talking about entitlement based on wealth, it's all right there.
Yeah. So Jared Kushner's father made it was either $2 or $2.5 million payment to Harvard during his son's admissions process.
Right.
And then
a donation, a charitable donation.
Yeah. And then, look at that. He gets it. How is it any different?
It's not. That's my point. That's exactly what I'm saying. The people with money don't have to try.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so I don't understand why this scandal is even that much of a big deal.
Because
if it wasn't Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman,
no, because of the craziness of some of the stuff that was going on. Like the, I don't remember who it was, but there were some parents that what they were doing was they were photoshopping their children's faces onto the bodies of other athletes
for extracurricular
to use on social media to try to say that their children were star athletes, so then they could bribe the athletic departments at universities to get their children in when they didn't qualify academically.
But see, that's
it's the whole craziness of it. I don't remember who. I think it was Ben Stiller. I think who was on. He was on one of the late night shows. It was either last night or the night before. I think it was Ben Stiller. But it was it was some actor. It was on, like I say, he was on TV talking about. I don't even remember the context of what they were talking about. But the interviewer was like, "Hey, what are you and your daughter doing in town?" One of those small talk conversation kind of things. And he made a joke about, me and my daughter are down here, Southern California, looking at schools. He said he made some kind of comment about, my daughter's going to go there on a full ride football scholarship and major in photoshopping. It's like,
yeah, that sounds about right. And I mean, not to go too off topic here, but when we consider looking at society overall, we look at demographics. Kids who grow up in impoverished areas, inner cities, and their education is barely adequate for a third. It's not adequate for a first world country. Barely adequate for a second world country.
Yeah.
And you see these children who, especially the ones who do manage to get out of those environments and go to college and accomplish something in life, they really have to work hard to do it. These kids that we're talking about in these admission situations have been raised with the best schools, the best teachers, the best resources for their education, and they still have to cheat to get into college. No,
and they don't even want to go. Lori Loughlin's daughter, I saw in the news a couple nights ago, they're showing old posts from her daughter talking about how she wanted to be a social media influencer, whatever that is.
A Kardashian.
Yeah, basically. And that how she didn't even want to go to college. And, during classes, she was posting things about how boring it was, to be in school, to be in class when you don't really care about it.
Which is a perfect example of why her parents had to cheat her in the first place.
Exactly. Because she didn't have to worry about it. She had to work for anything.
Right. But again, I mean, there really is no surprise to me about that. I mean, maybe a little surprise about who's doing it, because we're not dealing with, these are not A-list actors. They're like maybe A-minus list actors, because people know who they are. But
yeah,
they're not like Brad Pitt or
no.
But they have money,
lots of it, especially Lori Loughlin.
Where does she get all her money?
She's
from?
married to somebody.
Yeah. I don't
remember his name, but
see that would make the point for me. If she was married to another actor, they wouldn't have done this.
Well, Felicity Huffman is.
I don't even know who. She's married to
William H. Macy.
He didn't seem to know much about what was going on.
No, from what I understand, he was kind of in the dark.
Yeah.
But also, she didn't spend a lot of money. Lori Loughlin paid more than $500,000 to get her two daughters in USC. By the way, and they got in as part of the crew team, even though neither one of them have ever rode a day in their life.
They don't look like they have.
No.
They look like kids who have personal trainers from the age of 5. That's what they look like.
But Felicity Huffman, her payment was like $15,000, and that was to the ACT official. But the other thing is with all this is with Lori Loughlin, it might be a tax issue also, because they wrote the $500,000 payment. They wrote it off as a donation. So
I think that's probably what screwed them in the long run then, because you can't. How do you justify that as a donation?
I mean, if you're a billionaire,
well, true. I mean, yeah, but still, when it all comes to light, then you look at that, you're like, well, that wasn't a donation. It may have gone through, through the tax system without being noticed. But once you start digging, it looks suspicious.
Paying all this money to cheat their daughters in the USC, and then they're writing off on their taxes also.
And that's the thing I don't understand. If they're rich and they know their kids are going to be set up for life, why do they even care?
Yeah.
Why does it fucking matter? Keep those 2 spots open for kids who want a fucking education.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. So, what percentage in higher education do you think this is going on? Even if it's like small and say, 1 to 3%.
That's a big number.
That's a big fucking number.
Well, I make the same argument about athletic scholarships too. People who are going in there, not the ones who go in and get an actual real degree. That's something that
most of them do.
Most of them do. I'm talking about the ones that go in there because they want this football scholarship is going to get me an NFL deal, or this NBA or whatever.
At least the university looks at that. It can look at that as you're kind of using each other.
Same thing with the colleges. When you're talking about making donations, it's the same thing. What's going to look better on my kid's resume? I come from a wealthy family. I might want some political influence. I want to get my kid into politics. It's going to look great if they went to Harvard or Yale. It this way. But I'll make a big donation. The school gets the donation. The kid gets the diploma that says Harvard or Yale on it.
Yeah, and
I would much rather the football player get the fucking deal. But,
but a lot of these kids aren't getting removed from school, from what I understand. I know Wake Forest came out and said that they weren't going to. I think there was one student that went to Wake Forest during this whole scandalous kind of thing, and they said they weren't going to have him leave. They weren't going to kick him out of school because they didn't feel like the kid did anything wrong. I'm like, but even if he didn't,
I think he should have to test into the school again.
Exactly,
that's what I think.
Yeah,
fine. You want to stay here? We're going to test you into it though.
Yeah,
make sure you're actually learning and not just holding up in a spot that could go to somebody else.
And I would be even fine if they did remove him from school.
Right. I mean, under the circumstances, it's like, even if you didn't know anything,
it's probably a better life, lesson for you.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know if it's the same equivalency or what, but it's kind of like if you got caught with stolen goods. You didn't steal it, but you have the goods.
Yeah.
You stole this spot, or this spot was stolen for you, and whether you know it or not, it's a stolen spot, so you're just as culpable.
Yeah.
You may not go to jail, but you can't have the spot anymore.
I guess the other thing I took away from it is apparently it's a lot cheaper to bribe a testing official than it is a school official.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me because the testing officials don't make any money.
That's because $15,000. I mean, that's kind of, especially to someone that's got a lot of money. I mean,
that's not gonna be nothing.
Even though her and her husband aren't like huge celebrities, $15,000.
William H. Macy is a pretty big deal, at least in name. I mean, I don't know what he makes, but
I don't know either. But
I mean, he's popular. At least he's in movies. He's in stuff. His name carries weight when they advertise movies.
He's got the ER money, I guess.
Well, he's got that. He's on that show.
That was part of a joke.
I got it. But notice the laughter.
Yeah, I noticed. Jackass.
His name carries weight, and he gets roles as a result because he's a good actor. I'm not putting him down. I'm just saying his name carries weight in the same way that a Brad Pitt or whatever would carry weight, just maybe on a different level.
I guess I wonder if it would have been as big of a story if
it didn't involve celebrities.
If it wasn't for celebrities and the insanely huge dollar amounts, and kind of like I said before, the oddness of
and that's what I was pointing out.
Stories.
If there were no celebrities involved, we wouldn't even have known about it. And
because those are the only names of that.
That's the only thing they've mentioned. That's the only thing I've seen in the headlines. And like I said, this shit happens all the fucking time. I mean, it's amazing. If you look at how
it isn't like under the rug bribery kind of situation.
Well, a lot of times it is. I mean, what's the difference between what they're doing and donating to the college for the same fucking purpose? It's the same thing.
Because I guess one's donating to the college, the other one's donating to an individual person.
Right. That's the primary difference. But the result and the intention is exactly the same. So, and as I said, that's been going on for centuries. It doesn't fucking matter. What's scary is people who don't need it aren't going to appreciate it. Chances aren't even going to use it, other than just to have the title.
I just don't know why try to shoehorn your children into something that obviously they're not going to. They don't give a shit about.
If my kid came up to me and said they wanted to be a social media
influencer,
I'd smack the shit out of him and say, go apply for college.
Yeah, you're also not a billionaire, though.
No, and even if I were, I would never do this. Because to me, you're right. A child needs to make their own mistakes. If my kid says, I want to be a social media influencer, I'm going to say, don't be fucking stupid. Get a college degree. I don't want a college degree. I'm not going to do it. Okay, then don't do it, but you're not going to live off me for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So that's all I would say. It's that simple. That's what fucking parents do. But not in this day and age.
No. And I guess I wonder if part of it is the fact that, as a celebrity or someone with money, it's like, no, I don't want you to go out and get a regular job like the little common person. Right. You have to go to school and, be a business person or something like that.
Right. Something that's going to maintain this level of wealth and influence.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as an actress,
don't be a common.
Then why doesn't she just get her kids into acting? That's what all the other actor parents do. Or at least they may do it intentionally. They may not do it at all, and the kids do it anyway.
Well, a lot of times when they become actors, they normally have some kind of like training, like through university.
Again, these girls. I only saw a picture of Lori Loughlin. I don't know if it's 2 daughters or just one.
She's got 2.
Okay,
and both of them have withdrawn from USC since
they were kicked out.
Well, I read
it was suggested that they leave.
Yeah, they withdrew.
Yeah. They're attractive young ladies. If they wanted to be actresses, they could.
Yeah, and
actually, that's really you don't really need any talent anymore to be an actor.
No, and one had some like modeling contracts and some contracts with some beauty suppliers and things like that. But those have all been withdrawn.
Right. And don't get me wrong. I don't suggest that just because you're an attractive young lady, modeling and acting is your only option.
No.
But if your highest goal in life is to be a Kardashian, which is essentially what that is, then academics is not for you.
I mean, if I would like to be able to make a living off of just like playing on Instagram all day long, it'd be really nice.
Yeah. Well, who wouldn't?
You, because you're never on Instagram.
I'm not making any fucking money on Instagram. If I could, I would. Trust me.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm not clever enough or beautiful enough or whatever.
Fucking touche.
Yeah, I guess you could pull it off because you totally look like a Kardashian.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could totally pull that off.
So I wonder. Part of me also wonders if there's other like shaming motives involved in regards to the clients.
Like, how do you figure?
For either from the FBI's thinking, because going back to the way the investigation appears to have went down, I really don't know of another instance where it's gone from like top to bottom like it did. So is there either some kind of like shaming motive there, or
to shame the perpetrators? You mean?
Yeah, or from the media.
No, I think the media is just clamping onto the celebrity of it. If the celebrities weren't involved, we wouldn't be hearing about it.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be showing up in our news feeds at all. If that weren't the thing. So no, I don't think there's shaming involved. I mean, maybe because they're celebrities and it's easy to shame celebrities.
Yeah, but
I think it's an indirect result from that. No, I honestly think it. I think you're saying that the gross amount of money was about $25 million overall.
Yeah.
Okay. If it was $25 billion, we wouldn't be hearing about it either. The FBI probably wouldn't even have been involved.
No.
Nope. Because that happens again. It happens all the fucking time. It's a different level of rich. $25 million is poor to billionaires.
I guess.
It's chump change. It's like, you walking around with $1,000 in your pocket. It's a lot of money to you, but it's not a lot of money to somebody else.
I gotcha.
So I think the dollar amount, because it's high to the average person,
well, it's
low to the billionaires and millionaires.
You figure it's $500,000 a person. There's 50 people there.
I thought it was $25 million for 50 people.
Yeah, that'd be 500. Did I do my math correctly?
It doesn't sound right to me, but I'm not good at mental math.
Yeah, divided over 50 people. Yeah.
I don't know. I'll look, but we'll keep talking. Okay,
roughly,
still 500,000. Yeah, if it was 500 million a person, or even 5 million a person, then it'd be a completely different story because you're dealing with people on a different level of of financial value.
Yeah.
Because that's what it all comes down to. Trump could have come along, and we're not trying to bring this politics, but Trump could have come along with the exact same ideas, the exact same rhetoric, nothing different other than his net wealth. And I don't think he would have stood a chance. People put value on wealth. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what keeps the world turning. But we put different levels of value on different levels of wealth.
Yeah.
So even though these people are wealthy by any given standard, they're not wealthy enough to justify the protections that are allotted to the other. They're more the 2%ers rather than the 1%er. If this was a 1%er issue, again, we wouldn't be hearing about it. So you take the celebrity out of it and increase the annual income of the people involved, we wouldn't have heard about it.
Kind of like the Illuminati, that's how they hold the.
There's not. No, you can't deny that there are different rules for different classes. Of course there is. There always has been. There always will be.
And a lot of different rules from low income to lower middle class to middle class to higher middle class. There's different rules for each one of those categories. Are you still trying to do the math?
Yes, I'm still trying to do the math. But anyway,
okay,
keep talking.
Take 25 million.
I did that. I just hit the wrong button.
Ian, it should be really easy to do in your head. 25 million divided by 50 is 500,000.
Right, then I did hit the right button.
Oh my God,
Never
people!
mind.
I need to drink more before I do these shows. I swear. I hear you clicking over there.
Yeah.
Do you still? Yep. 25. Oh,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So still, I mean, that's chump change. That's chump change.
You should be able to do that in your head.
I should, and I usually can. I actually can do pretty good math in my head. Just not today. I
am so smart.
SMRT.
Dumbass.
Yeah. But anyway.
Me fail English? That's impossible.
Just put your head down, Ralph.
People have no idea what the fuck we're talking about.
Some people would.
But going back to the whole like baby boomer thing and all that, you go back to like I said before, policies that they've helped usher in. And you look at tax cuts to the detriment of their children and their grandchildren's generations.
Well, it's because they're not only believing what they're told, and they're told that it's gonna boom the economy. They're gonna help your grandchildren by cutting no taxes. The problem is they're not cutting their taxes; they're cutting millionaire taxes.
And that's exactly it. But it's also other government programs that they're in favor of that provide them with short-term economic boosts that end up crippling later generations.
Right. Well, they don't. No one looks that far ahead. Hell, we can't even convince a huge portion of our government, or even a smaller portion, but a portion nevertheless of our own people, that the planet is fucking dying and we're the ones killing it.
Yeah.
And they may have 10 grandchildren. You say, look, your grandchildren are going to live in a world that's going to be trying to kill them because of what we're doing to it, and they don't get it.
Well, they don't give it, or they stand there and go like, "Where's global warming? It's cold out today."
Well, that's what I'm saying, because they listen to the rhetoric, but it's also it's almost pandemic amongst those groups.
Yeah,
the baby boomers specifically, because we're talking about this kind of stuff, but they just don't get it. I don't think it's a lack of foresight. I hope it's not. Actually, I kind of hope it is, because I mean that's almost explainable.
No, I think it's a selfish mentality.
Well, it's selfish, of course, but is it openly selfish or just subconsciously selfish?
No, I think it's openly selfish.
They don't care because they won't be here. But it's what you're talking about, their own grandchildren, people they know.
Yeah.
Even their own children, arguably. I mean, we're not that far away from the shit really hitting the fan here. It's going to happen in our lifetimes.
But it's
starting now.
Look at the way minimum wage has been handled over the course of the past 40 years.
Right.
Baby boomers have helped stop minimum wage from going up because they don't want their businesses to have to pay more to their employees, so they
don't want to pay more for their products.
Or exactly, because they want to keep more of the wealth for themselves.
But they don't have the wealth. That's the thing that
no, it's a perceived wealth. Because I know I've said it before that at one time the American dream was what? To have a nice house, to
put your children through college,
put your children through school, to be able to put food on the table. Basically to be able to retire and do what you want to do
at a reasonable age.
At a reasonable age. What's the American dream now? to win the fucking lottery.
Yeah, or American Idol.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. It's just this huge shift in the way that America thinks and operates.
But see, that doesn't. I mean, you're right, but how does that equate to the minimum wage and everything? Is it as a result of what the baby boomers have done?
Yes, it's been a long, slippery slope, basically. Even though I hate that term.
Yeah.
It
applies. I think it's just overused.
Yeah.
That's why you don't like it. But anyway.
But even going to like, what's the one thing you always hear about millennials? Participation trophies, Oh, everyone gets a trophy. Everyone gets a ribbon. How is that? That has nothing.
See, you have to argue. That's not necessarily. I mean, the baby boomers don't agree with that.
But
typically,
how is that the fault of millennials?
It's not,
because they were children,
right?
So it is their parents and their grandparents,
right?
That wanted them to be able to have something to show for participating, basically. Correct?
I guess I never got a participation trophy, so I don't know. You either got a trophy or ribbon for succeeding, or you didn't. That was how I was.
And I
raised.
don't think my kids ever got like participation trophies. But I guess they did. They would get like a
certificate or
a medal or something like that at the end of the year, or they would hand out awards at the end of the year for every player would have a different kind of like best player or funniest player or something, something along those lines.
I guess I never had that. When I was a kid, if you didn't win, you didn't fucking win. You learn from it or you don't. It's up to you.
But I don't see the correlation between you getting a medal and then you becoming this hugely entitled generation.
Well, I guess it might not necessarily be as a result, but it feeds the beast. It feeds the overall problem. Because it doesn't stop there.
Or does it feed the overall perception?
Well, perception for sure, but it doesn't stop there. And this is not necessarily directed at millennials, because the same thing has been happening for decades. You might even be able to argue that it was occurring with our generation. This idea that everyone is special. You're special. I mean, how go back, the joke about the parents who always have to show off their kids, that's an old joke.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that 70s, 80s, maybe even 60s. Oh, look what little Johnny did. It's nothing special. It's special to them.
Yeah.
But it's not special. No one who knows you that's not family related gives a shit most of the time.
And generally, I don't want to see your pictures of your baby either.
Right. Yeah. Your babies are cute overall.
Well,
some babies are not.
A lot of them aren't.
Fair enough.
And I've had three. Well, I have three kids. So
I was going to say,
I didn't.
I hope there was not going to be a confession.
No, I didn't physically have three, but I've been responsible for three of them. But
okay. And even if they are cute, that's fine. No one cares.
No,
it's great. You have a baby. You think your baby's cute. That's great. But when you raise that
your
child,
kid cures cancer, then I'll worry. Then
But as a child grows, it doesn't stop there. You're so cute. You're so precious. Oh, you're so smart and talented. They drew a stick figure on a fucking piece of paper.
But that's nothing new.
That's my point. That's my point. But it feeds. Now, that's just internally. That's home life. Now, it's becoming the same thing outside. Every child's special. Don't yell at your children. Talk to your children. It's coming from everywhere. It's coming from don't spank your children. I don't think there's anything wrong with a good swat in the ass.
All my children, I've spanked all my children. 2 of the 3 of them I've spanked with belts. I mean,
hey, I know, whatever it takes, but a good swat in the ass is a good learning.
Just as long as it's not the first reaction. It's
right.
Spanking for me and for Mandy has always been the last resort.
Right. But there has to be a consequence
to
not doing the right thing.
Exactly.
And that's where it comes to a point where, okay, you're special. You're so beautiful. You're so talented. You're so smart. When they do something wrong, let's talk about it. There's no fucking consequences. Kid just sits there and listens and goes and does it again. Yeah. There's no consequences. So that's the problem. It's one thing to be told you're special and a unique snowflake, but when you fuck up, you get spanked.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a consequence to your actions, and you learn that. It's completely different when there's no consequences at all.
No,
and that's where the issue's coming from, because you can see the baby boomers being kind of the first generation where it was frowned upon to spank your children.
Oh yeah,
and now it's even worse. This next generation coming up, the people that your kids are going to have to deal with.
Oh, I see it all the time where it's like, the kid's throwing a fit. He doesn't want to follow directions, and mommy's down there talking to him in a nice, calm voice in the corner. And come on, little Johnny, let's go in here and do this. And come on, they've got toys in the room. Let's go in here and play this. And come on, let's do that. No, pick your damn kid up or grab him by the arm and take him.
Right.
I say, look, this is what we're fucking doing.
Right. And then that goes to, I was going to mention, because I know Mandy watches a lot of those home improvement shows or those home buying shows.
Yeah.
And you always see it with the people who are looking for houses and they have children. Well, we got to ask what the kids want to do or what the kids think. When you were a kid, did your parents ask you what you thought about any fucking home decision?
No.
No. It was, okay, guess what? We're moving to that house.
Yeah, this is what's going to happen.
This is your room, and this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
No, they ask children. Do you like it? Who fucking cares? They're a fucking kid.
Yeah, they have no say.
They're picking their nose. They don't barely know how to wipe their own ass. Don't ask them about a decision like that.
So my oldest is going to be 15, and I wouldn't ask his opinion on anything either.
That's my point. Yes, if children were capable of making or even contributing to those kind of big decisions, they wouldn't be living at home.
Yeah,
they could live on their own.
I was never obviously asked for things like that, but I was raised to always know that I had an opinion.
I wasn't. I was told my opinion didn't matter.
Well, see, we were definitely raised in different households, and I was raised.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, it sucked for me, but
but
it wasn't my money. I was a kid. It didn't matter.
Well, I was saying though, I was raised to have my own opinion, but know when to keep my opinion to myself.
Yeah, maybe that was my problem. I didn't always necessarily know that.
But
big decisions like that, I never fucking.
There's a time and place to have your. But I was raised around in a family where we would sit around and debate the news at night. So I definitely had a different upbringing than a lot of other people. But.
Yeah, mine was more. Yeah, that was allowed too, but you weren't. Your opinion didn't fucking matter when it came to big home decisions.
No,
is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I was agreeing with.
And the same with me. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like stifled, but.
But I was just trying to say though, even though I wasn't obviously involved in big matters, I was also.
You could voice your opinion.
Yeah, I could voice my opinion.
Yeah, and it would mattered the same as if you hadn't.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's my point. Now it matters. It matters.
And it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
But it goes back to parenting flaws.
But see, that's where I'm talking about. Where did those parenting flaws come from? Not just your own parents, but also how you interpret your own parenting style within the confines of the world you live in.
I think it's bad parenting habits that have been passed down,
and they get worse with each generation. Well, if that were true, then you and Mandy wouldn't spank your children.
Well, because
you wouldn't have rules
because it's not the rule. It's not going to happen.
No, but it's a parenting tool that you and Mandy have used. There are parents who would consider you child abusers for doing that.
Oh, I know.
And that's my point. It's those people.
But luckily enough, legally they're wrong.
Well, for now.
Okay.
For now. Because you do have to understand that the next generations are coming up that are going to be taking over the legislations of things.
Hopefully I'm dead and gone by the time that.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I have a feeling you're going to see some of it. Especially since you're so healthy.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to live forever.
Do you really want to?
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
I would only want to live forever if I had, if I could live healthy. I mean, and my mind is intact. Meaning I can still be active.
Is your mind intact now?
No, I should have died 3 years ago. But that being said, if I could have the health I had when I was 18 and live forever, sure. Otherwise, no, thank you. I don't want to be all decrepit and shit. I'm fine with decrepit as long as my mind doesn't go. If my mind starts going, time to let it all go. But then I think about it. I kind of want to die when my mind goes. Like that's how I want to go. I don't want to know what's coming.
Really?
Yeah, I really don't.
I don't know.
I figure Alzheimer's kind of the disease for me.
I would rather have like a not too long, but a long enough death.
So you can.
I'd rather die over like a period of time than like quick dead.
Oh yeah, I don't want to die quick either. I don't want to just wake up with a heart attack, or
Well,
obviously
you wouldn't
I don't want to wake up
either.
having a heart attack and die. How's that? I don't want it to come as a shock either.
Yeah.
But I want a disease that I would prefer like Alzheimer's. It would incapacitate my brain enough so that I'm not conscious of it really, or at least aware of it coming.
I got you.
Because for me, it's just end. It's done. So I'm not terribly excited for those prospects.
Well, that's you.
That is me. It's for you too. You just won't accept it, but that's okay.
Whatever. Except what?
Well, you accept plenty of things. You accept fairy tales instead of reality, but that's okay.
Santa Claus is real.
Sure. and in his adult form, Jesus is the same, right? Because Santa Claus is just Jesus for kids.
Speaking of that, I was listening to Christmas music a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, well,
I was torturing my children with it.
I can understand that. Now we're definitely getting into child abuse territory because it's abuse no matter what time of year it is.
But I guess getting back to our topic, I guess it's always kind of bothered me when people. And it probably didn't originally. I probably agreed with it originally, but the longer I've noticed and been paying attention to it, it bothers me when people talk about how entitled millennials are, because I don't think it's entitlement. I think they're just trying to react to their situation.
Well, they just haven't been trained to be anything else.
React to their environment, where I think the entitlement comes more from older generations.
Well, I think it's a progressive thing. It's progressed from one generation to the other, and if whether or not that cycle thing is accurate is interesting as it sounds, and as it does hold weight just based on the surface level of it. I don't know what their research entailed, but
and actually, if you go back through their generational theory, they break it down from like over the last several hundred years,
right? And
they show that every single 20 or 22 years, whatever it is, you're seeing another turning and another turning, and if you look it up online, even if you go on like Wikipedia or whatever, it'll break down the generations inside each turning,
right?
Which
again,
it's really interesting.
Fair enough. I don't know. I think it's just a progressive thing, and like everything in existence, everything goes in cycles.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole universe is cyclical in a sense. So I guess it makes a difference. The only difference on our level is that.
Yeah, that's also the argument behind global warming, but okay.
Well, there's truth to it. It's just that our behavior and our attitude is speeding up the process.
I understand that.
So, yes, someone can say, well, it's cyclical. They're wrong. They're right and they're wrong. They're right about the cycle. They're wrong about our influence on speeding it up. So, and the same thing can be said about what I'm talking about, too. Nature is cyclical. Things die. They decompose. They become food for the next, that's what I'm talking about. That's life. That's what the universe is. But the problem is we can look at it through this microcosm of our own personal existence and see it in behavior and attitudes and consequences. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just the normal progression of things, and as
maybe it is,
and as our technology and our ability to create new things evolves with that, it becomes more obvious or simple to, I don't know. I don't know what that means. It's just in the age of Facebook and social media, would we notice these same things? Could it?
Probably not.
Would this particular turning be as extreme as it has been? Because you can see extremes in the millennials, just as in retrospect we can see extremes in the baby boomers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In retrospect, though, we couldn't see them before.
Uh-huh.
Now we can. So maybe without the technologies that we have, we wouldn't see these extremes.
Maybe.
Or, I don't know. So who's to say in another... So we're coming up to the next... We're in that third cycle, or that third
I think
stage.
So. We're coming up to the crisis.
So we're about to cross over to the fourth stage then, essentially. Your children's generation would be the ones that are really... Which makes perfect sense considering our...
climate.
Political and otherwise. So that makes sense. And so who's to say in 40 years or even say 20 years. Well, I mean, I guess it depends because I guess what generation are your kids in? What do they call your kids? What generation is that?
I don't know. I don't have a list in front of me.
Yeah, I don't either. But
Home something.
Home? Generation home?
It has home in it. I don't remember what it is though.
Generation go back home after college because you can't afford to live on your own. Your debt is so excessive you can't afford a house or an apartment. Well, that's true. You can't afford an apartment no matter what.
No.
I mean, apartments are outrageously priced, and mortgage payments. 10 years ago, you could have gotten a house with a $500 mortgage payment. Now it's $1,500.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
The
house prices haven't really changed that much. They have a little bit, but not much.
I think that's how it always works, though.
I guess. Go down. So we're that one. Echo boomers or millennials? What the fuck is an echo boomer?
I don't know what that is.
Or is that eco boomer? Eco boomer.
It's probably eco boomer, but
they've got to have a name for. I mean, like you pointed out, Jack is going to be 15 this year, right?
Yeah.
So 15 years into this generation, they should have a fucking name for it. Gen Z doesn't even qualify. Does it say Gen Alpha?
Yes.
And what's the year on that one?
2013 to 2025.
Gen Alpha? Alpha? Really?
Gen Z is 1995 to 2012.
Okay, so
I saw it called something different.
Yeah. Gen Alpha? Kids being born today are going to be fucking Gen Alpha?
I don't know why. Maybe because they think they're number one?
They're told they're number one from birth. Well, and
see, and on here it says Xennials are 1975 to 1985.
See, and I've seen different things. I've seen it. The highest I've seen is 83, and the lowest I've seen is 77.
And this is Millennials are 1980 to 1994, but I've seen that different too.
Yeah, 83 is the lowest I've seen that one,
yeah.
And 96 is the highest I've seen it. I don't consider myself an Xennial. I'm a fucking Gen Xer. Period. I don't need that extra one because they put that in there. I feel like to make some of us feel better about ourselves because they say that the Xennials are kind of in between everything and don't have a real place in any of it, which is fine with me. It makes me feel a little bit better, but Gen Xers have a little bit of blame to accept as well. Although we're the ones who kind of get screwed on both ends of it.
Yeah, so I guess they're just called
Gen Z.
Gen Z or Centennials.
How are they Centennials?
I don't know that.
That would mean they were born in 2001.
Late 90s to 2010s is what it says.
That's almost a full generation in and of itself. Like how?
That's a pretty wide gap. But I don't know. It really doesn't matter.
No, I mean, like I said, for the purpose of conversation and being able to break these down, you do need some kind of an identifier title. But is it really necessary to have it? Not really.
Some different
breakdowns.
Yeah. See, like this website I'm on right now, it says the new boomers are 83 to 2001.
New boomers?
Yeah.
How is that even true?
I have no fucking clue.
Because there wasn't a baby boom in the 80s.
No.
If anything, it was probably the reverse.
I don't know. It doesn't matter, though. You got anything else to add, Ian? Any last words?
No.
Well, that's promising, I guess. Jeez.
Just, I mean, yeah. I guess if it's cyclical, there really isn't any point in even discussing it because it's just going to cycle through as it is.
Hopefully. Well, if it's cyclical, that means they'll get better eventually.
Not necessarily because it'll get better and then it'll get worse again. And each better part might be better than the last,
maybe.
But each worse will be worse than the last
maybe.
too. So, I mean, are humans just destined to be the cause of their own demise? I mean, is that essentially is that essentially what it is?
I mean, how many?
I don't believe in destiny, but I mean, if you're, I guess, self-fulfilling destiny.
Look at it this way: the dinosaurs were the king of this planet for how many millions of years? And we've been on Earth.
But see, they didn't have any control over that, over their own demise.
No, I know that, but
we do.
But
to some degree,
they were the master of the planet, and they were wiped off pretty easily, and so can we, I guess.
Yeah, that's an asteroid. I'm talking about us wiping ourselves out.
I mean, it could be an asteroid. I mean,
it still could be. I mean, they're talking about all these little ones that keep like not like Earth-destroying ones, but
near
enough
misses.
to like near misses. But there's also a couple that are on the horizon that could theoretically hit us and cause quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, well,
not like extinction level event type stuff, but catastrophic nevertheless.
But anyway, so on this, after this nice dark conversation that we had, at least next episode we'll lighten it up a little bit.
Oh yes, we'll still be talking about stupid people in our society, though.
Yeah. So on the next episode, on a very special episode of the Life in General podcast,
she touched my special spot.
we're going to be talking about flat earthers on the next episode.
Yeah, sounds like fun, doesn't it?
So that'll be fun.
I can't wait.
We always have that conversation.
I love.
We always have fun with that conversation, I guess.
Yeah, I love talking about it. It's sad. It saddens me every time, but it's still just so much fun.
But anyway, any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@lifeandjournalpodcast.com. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on our website. Check us out on Podbean.
Well, at least you didn't say check us out on Pornhub, so I guess that's all right.
Ooh, Jesus. All right, well, on that note,
yeah.
Talk to you later.
Peace.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Your old lady drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the ring. Got you two cobras, you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, them niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that you're sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bruh. We taking the dub, hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Know they see the sign. That's some dollar sign. Know they sick as fuck. Know they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell them get well soon. Know you sick as fuck. Get well soon.
Oh shit. Watch out, you the god, Billy. Oh shit. Right now, and I'm smiling in your face, bitch. With a gold smile, you should probably make placement to your eye. Niggas sick as fuck. Standing with niggas who down for that party. Who down for some bitches who showing their bodies. Swear to God, nigga, this Molly got me up and rolling. These bodies of water. Bring that shit in bottles.